It just gives you so much comfort whenever you realize, okay, I don't have to have everything together. I don't have to what's going on, Hirsch Tribe? We are here as a fam. It's been a bit since we've kind of just sat down and talked to you guys. In all honesty, it's been really hard to even just sit down and record, and we're going to try not to be emotional in this video. Nothing is falling apart in our life or anything, but there is some things that have been going on that we just really need to let you in on, and hopefully we can all kind of learn and grow through it together, because we're such honest and transparent people with those that are closest to us, and it's always been a part of what we want to do online too, is to let you guys in on that as well. So how about you kind of start letting them in?
I mean, I think that there's so many different elements to life, especially life as a creator and having our lives so much online, and so many parts of that are amazing and awesome and just such a privilege to share, and such a privilege that you guys would even care about our lives and care about us, and we really do feel that in so many ways. But at the same time, there's definitely a presence of creators online that share with you all the high moments and all the great things, but they don't necessarily share with you all of the harder times and the difficult seasons of life. So we want to come from a transparent perspective and just be really real about what's actually kind of been going on inwardly in our hearts and minds. You know, I know for me, I've just been walking through the past few months since having Hudson of so much joy and so much happiness in him and having him. But at the same time, there's been so many thoughts and so many feelings of I feel like I'm a failure in a lot of different ways, realistically, because, you know, Chelsea and I are really ambitious people. We're really energetic, go-getters, no victim mentality. We want it, we got to go get it. I think that might have caught up with me to a degree, because I think my ambition outpaced my ability to actually do it. And I think a big reason for that is because prior to having Hudson, I was able to focus all my time and energy on meeting these goals and doing these things and going these places and, you know, being a part of these events. But since having him, my priorities have shifted off of that to now primarily being a husband and a dad. And so, you know, it's not like those ambitions just go away. So they're still lingering back there, but I'm not able to give my time to them like I was earlier in the year. And so it creates these feelings of inadequacy, of I'm not doing enough. I'm not, you know, being enough for my family. And then, you know, some days there's even feelings of I personally, am not enough, which I know is not true. I know that that's a lie from the enemy, but the feelings are really real. And so what begins to happen is you get stuck in these cycles of not feeling like enough, and because you're not necessarily getting to do everything that you were dreaming about doing and, you know, planning to do and having the ambition to do, it makes you feel even more so like you're not living up to the expectations that you have of yourself. And so then it causes you to even further go in that mental rut of man, no, I really am a failure. It really is a cycle. And so you just begin to lose all motivation to do anything. And
that's the place I've seen you in for a while too.
Yeah.
And there's been some things going on personally, with our family and stuff that we can't really share because it's private information, but just having all of those things happen. And Nick is a person that's super affected by if something is going wrong in the family, it consumes his mind and it's all he thinks about. And I know you're working on that because
I'm trying to.
It's not easy, you know, because you care so much about your family. But there's just been a lot of that going on. And then personally, I feel I don't even really know where to start. There's been so many exciting moments, and most days are awesome, but then there are some days where last night we barely got any sleep. Not just that because of Hudson, because there was some random person knocked on our door at
3:55 in the morning.
And Waldo, anytime something makes a noise outside, he goes crazy. And I think that's a good thing if like there was something actually bad happening.
Yeah.
And so we had so much adrenaline from that we just like really didn't go back to sleep. And then, you know, you add in like several nights of like not really sleeping super well because he's in the 3 to 4 month like sleep regression time. And so that honestly contributes to the physical exhaustion.
Yeah.
And then you have emotional, spiritual exhaustion, which is something that we've felt for a few months. And I think because of the past 2 years and COVID and everything, it's like so many people are just like not really willing to get together, and we need that to like thrive.
Yeah.
And just recently, like this week, we felt like there was like a breakthrough for us personally, and this is where we want to like try to help you guys through as well.
This is the good part. This is why you should stay.
Yeah.
The reason that we can sit down and make this video is because I do believe that we're on the upswing.
Yes.
I believe that we rutted out like at the very bottom, like late September, first week of October. And I really do feel like we're kind of on that upswing now.
Because I think we have perspective on it.
Yeah.
And we hadn't been to church in like several months. Our faith and relationship with Christ is so huge, and our relationship and
everything.
Our personal lives and the way that we raise our kid. And for a while we just felt so dry, and we realized the reason for that is because we haven't been around other believers. We haven't been confiding in other people. And we just allowed ourselves to get so isolated. And just recently at church, one of the pastors preached, and she was just inviting us to just sit at the feet of Jesus and just like let it all out.
Yeah.
And for a while, I think when we were trying to like muster up the courage to pray together, or muster up like the desire to read God's word, we just like couldn't do it in and of ourselves, because that desire comes from
the Spirit,
the Holy Spirit, and like being with the Lord. And we just hadn't just been with him in a long time. So it really felt amazing to just like be guided through that again, and just to like sit and just be and not feel like you had to have words. Because I feel like a lot of us get in this like routine mindset with faith of, oh, I gotta have all the right words, I gotta say all the right things. That's never how it was designed to be.
Yeah.
It's faith like a child, you know.
Yeah.
And things are simple with children.
Yeah. Like Hudson doesn't need a PhD in his parents' like psychology or something for me to love him. He doesn't need to perform at the highest level all the time for me to love him. He doesn't need to show me that he's able to handle so much more than I thought he could for me to be able to love him. I just love him because he's my kid. He's my son. And that's the only reason I need. You know, I think for us, it wasn't necessarily a feeling like we had to perform for God, because I definitely didn't. And I know that. Like, I don't need to perform for my God to love me. And you don't either, by the way. None of us do. And none of us can do anything to earn the love of God. But what I did understand and realize really for the first time in my life.
It is passive.
Yeah. Oh, also, if I'm a little bit slouched today, it's because my back and my legs and my butt and my chest and my shoulders.
Every part of our body hurts because we started CrossFit.
Yes. I was telling my mom yesterday that I needed like physical therapy because I feel like a 160-pound pile of ground meat. Anyways, yeah, so like I understand that I never had to perform for God, and I still know that. I don't have to, and you don't either. But I feel like because we're in ministry as well as being creators here, there's so much of this pressure to hold an image and to look a certain way and to be a certain way that there's almost never an opportunity for a minute. It seemed like it to me, but this isn't how it actually is. But it seemed as though in my mind there was never a place for me to be like broken and needy and kind of like turned off of like Nick the preacher and just be like Nick, like God's child. Yeah. And so like just recently I've really understood that it's okay for me to be needy. It's okay for me to like beg God. It's okay for me to cry. It's okay for me to like just be and not have to be like a theological expert, but just be a child. Yeah. Like, and honestly, that sounds so simple, but it really has been revolutionary for me, and it just frees up so much headspace, and it frees up so much grief, and it assures me that I'm not always going to get it right, but I can sure try. Yeah, I mean, I know that's just a lot of rambling, but...
Your voice put him to sleep.
Oh, good. Great. Yes, well, I hope I don't have that same effect when I preach. Yeah, that's just some of what I've been learning and what I've been going through personally. And I'm not doubting faith. I'm not doubting God. Like, Jesus still reigns king. I'm so madly in love with him. This is not like a me stepping away from Christianity. Like, none of that.
But I
None
think
of
it's just like any relationship. You go through like these low times where it's almost pivotal in your relationship. Like, whenever we have an argument or whenever we feel like distant, there becomes a time of like reconnection. And I think that that's what we've had recently. We have had our lives change so much in such a fast amount of time, like such a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And to feel like, yes, we are parents, but we're also children to God is so huge. And I don't know why I get emotional when I think about like us being God's children, but like I've rested so much in that like through my whole life. Mm-hmm. I remember us being in Boston and talking about this. Yeah. Like, it just gives you so much comfort whenever you realize, okay, I don't have to have everything together. I don't have to like do all these things in my day to feel like God loves me or that I'm a good wife or I'm a good mom or whatever. And so I just kind of need to hear that sometimes from people. Like, it's okay to just be with God. You don't have to have all these words. You don't have to have all these like fancy ways of saying like how you feel, because he understands and he gets it. Yeah. And so that's where we've been lately. And
I just want to say this really fast because I think it's really important, and I think you're going to agree. I told myself in the car the other morning after 3 months of being out of the church, and I didn't step away from the church because I hated church. It wasn't even intentional. No, it wasn't intentional. It was like we had him and he was too small for the kids ministry, and we couldn't find a babysitter, so we watched online now and then, and that's why. So it wasn't like I hate church and like I'm gonna give it one last shot. Yeah,
I think people understand.
But I told myself in the car, I didn't even say it out loud, but I just knew in my head, I was like, they're gonna see us, and they're gonna recognize us and that we've been gone, and they're gonna come up and they're gonna ask, how are you? That's the question that everyone, and what's our rapid fire response? It's at the cashier at the grocery store, it's at the guy at church, it's over coffee, it's over text, it's everything. It's how are you? I'm good.
Yeah.
You doing good? Yeah, I'm good. Oh yeah, I'm good. And why do we do that? It's because we don't want to burden other people. Like, we don't want to burden others. Like, oh, well, if I tell them, like, life has been a mess and, like, things aren't good, then, like, I don't want them to think of me as, like, not all put together, or I don't just want to burden them with all my crap. But I told myself, I was like, someone's going to ask how I am, and I'm not going to tell them I'm good. That's my challenge I'm not going to say I'm good.
You didn't even tell me this.
Yeah.
Just now.
We got 10 steps in the door, and girl walks up to us. Oh my gosh, Nick and Chelsea, hey, how are you guys? Like, I haven't seen you in so long. And she walks up to us, kind of gets in a tight little circle.
And I'm just like, honestly, we're like really burnt out and super dry, and we really need to be here.
Yep. And I said, I am absolutely exhausted, if you want to know the truth. I'm exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And so I'm just glad to be here. That's exactly what we said.
And that gave her an opportunity to give me her number. So I have her number now. She's a mom. She's also young. Her and her husband are great people.
Also in ministry.
And in ministry, yeah. And we don't always try to have friends that are all in ministry. But that happened to be the case with her. And then there were also other friends that came up, asked the same question, and we were honest with them. Yep. And so I think the point being in this video is, like, if you were to learn anything from this, if you don't let people in on how you actually are doing, like, if you want a safe space to share how you're actually doing, feel free to just write in the comments or come on our Patreon, where we share that every other week with our friends there. If you're not honest with others, you're not providing them an opportunity to truly be there for you, and they might also be in a space where they need someone. A lot of people recently, we've been
This morning, Like the fact that we were honest with friends at church. It set up a coffee meeting for me this morning. I had coffee with a friend who walked up to me at church, and I told him I wasn't good. And I'm not going to mention his name or allude to his identity in any regard.
But he shared that his father is
going through cancer, that he just hasn't been well. He's been anxious. And so it allowed us the opportunity to do exactly what the Bible... I didn't go and give him a bunch of advice and minister to him or anything. What we did is we just sat across the table from one another and we looked at each other in the eyes for 2.5 hours and we said, I'm so sorry. That must be really hard.
Yeah.
How can I pray for you? I'm so sorry. That's got to be really difficult to walk through. How can I be a friend to you right now? For 2.5 hours, that's what we did. And none of us walked away knowing another fact about God. Neither of us walked away, on some whole new level. But we did walk away understanding that there's other people just like me who are struggling just like me and really going through it just like me.
Yeah.
And we can bear one another's burdens is what the Bible says. And so I just have to believe that, not to be arrogant, but we get several thousand views on every video that we do. And this video is probably that same case again, I have to guess. And I just have to believe that one of you, or many of you out there watching this right now, you are absolutely exhausted, friend.
Yeah.
You are spent. Like you are at your wit's end. And it's okay. Like it's okay to be broken. It's okay to be exhausted. It's okay to walk up to someone and they ask, how are you? To say, honestly, I'm not that great.
And some of us may not even really realize that we're exhausted because our coping mechanisms with that exhaustion is to busy ourselves or to fill a schedule or to fill in the blank. And I think it's just good to have a time of reflection. Allow this video to be a time where you're trying to figure out how you really are inwardly. Yeah,
so we actually do a Bible study every other Sunday with our Patreon group, and we were on Patreon. I think we were going through Hebrews 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were going through Hebrews 9. And we were just chatting, and Hebrews is really all about the supremacy of Christ and his atoning work for mankind. And we got to the end. This was after church that day. So, we get out of church Sunday at 1, and then our Bible study was at 5 our time. And we're just on, and we're going for an hour, hour and 15, hour and 20. And at the very end, I just wanted to ask people, because I really felt stirred too. I was just hey,
Me too the whole time.
Yeah, I was just hey, I just want to ask you guys something, and I want to be really vulnerable with you first, so you feel you can be vulnerable with me. How are you really doing? How are you really doing? And I said, for me, I am tired, I am exhausted, and I am spent in all areas of my life. That's how I'm really, and I don't need your advice or your counsel or your wisdom. I just need to have someone listen. I'm spent. First thing someone said, the first person who spoke, I won't mention her name, but she got on and she said, I am burnt out. I am cooked.
There were others that said, I'm frazzled, I'm discouraged. And I don't think there was really one person. Hi, Waldo. I don't think there was really one person that was doing perfect. And I think the point is, we most times in our life are not going to be doing absolutely perfect. There are things that we go through, and I think it's important to be honest about it.
Yeah.
You can just add that in there.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments or DM us. We want to be a friend to you, but we're also not counselors. That's what faithful counseling is for, which we've used many, many times. Yeah. And if you guys need that, we'll link it down below. Yeah. But I just think that it's such a good reminder to know that we don't have to show up and be it all and perform all the time. And it's so hard to not feel like you have to do that in the space that we're in here.
Yeah. What did we do on Sunday? We listened to the message, we walked down to the altar, and we sat together hand in hand, and we just cried for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's all we did. So we just cried. We just cried together. And that's all.
Sometimes you just need to do that.
And that's all. We didn't have a bunch of fancy prayers, or it wasn't a big scene. We just went and just cried together because that's just what we needed. And that's what our souls needed. Our souls were saying, hey, you're past your breaking point, and you need to lean on me now. And that's what we did. And I gotta say, I feel a lot more refreshed. I feel a lot more energetic.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm clearer. And listen, some of you, one of you, maybe you watching this right now, you're going through something that is extremely difficult. And you've prayed, maybe you're a believer, maybe you're not, but you've prayed or you've sought the universe or whatever. Like, I'm not going to judge you. But you've sought and you've prayed and God hasn't done it. He hasn't answered it.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you this, that God may not always answer the prayer in the way that you're wanting, but he will give you peace.
Yeah.
He will give you peace to walk through it.
That's one thing that they were talking about on Sunday. Is she said, you know, God doesn't always answer my prayers, but I leave feeling more at peace with what I'm asking for or what I'm believing for. And I would agree with that. Sometimes we don't have the answers, but we get peace. And so that's really encouraging. And we love you guys. We just love being able to share these things with you. And that's all we have for today. We just wanted to be honest with you guys, kind of have like a little check-in. And we'll be back soon with like more videos.
And don't stress. Don't be like Nick and Chelsea are on the rocks. Like, things are rough. Like, we're good.
No.
We're just real people that go through real emotions and real struggles, just like you.
And we take time to deal with it privately, too. We wouldn't bring something public before we dealt with it private. So we love you guys, though, and we hope you're encouraged. If you want any more resources, if you're really, like, going through it like we had been, Faithful Counseling will be down below. We have our Bible studies every other week on Patreon. All of that's linked. But until then, we'll see you in the next video. Love you guys.
Sayonara.
Deuces.